Hey, so I'm writing this vlog today to do something that I have been putting off and just avoiding the subject for years. And yeah, there are some friends who already know, there are some family members who already know, but I haven't been completely honest and haven't told everything that there is to say about this. And the fact of the matter is that I'm gay. I always have. I've known since about the age of 13. And I'm doing this now because I realize there are a lot of people out there who are having a very difficult time with coming to terms with their sexuality, being completely honest with who they are, and I hope maybe by sharing my story I'll be able to help. Maybe one person will find the courage to be who they are and be able to stand up and tell people that they are gay as well. I grew up in a very small, rural-esque town of about less than 90,000 people, where being gay was not exactly cool, classy, and especially for a teenager, you're going to have a lot of trouble with it. And the fact of the matter is, people at my school probably knew before I did. I got made fun of right through elementary school before I even realized to myself that I was gay. I denied it, as is the typical case. My father was homophobic, to say the least, but also an abusive alcoholic. He beat my sister, myself, my mom, and abused alcohol for many years to a point where it destroyed almost everyone around us. I probably realized, maybe in about grade 9 or something, that I was gay and that I didn't like women at all. And the thought of that actually terrified me, because I didn't know how I could live in this small rural town and be who I was and not face constant ridicules, being called a fag, being just an outcast. I was worried that the friends that cared about me would change their opinion of me if they found out who I really was. So I locked that away in a part of myself for the entire duration of my high school, and the abuse continued. My dad beat me several times during the course of high school, to the point where I had to lie about where the marks on my back and neck and arms came from when I went to class. One professor, or teacher I guess, in my secondary school noticed it, and I thought I had covered up the scratches down my back, but apparently they were coming out from the top of my t-shirt. And this teacher, as I was walking out of class, pulled down my shirt and said, "Hey, what's this?" And I made up this rather ridiculous and ludicrous lie that I had gotten in a fight with the dog, and the dog had scratched me. I was playing with the dog and the dog scratched me, which was not the case. It's my dad just decided that morning before I went to school to start hitting me. High school was not a happy place. I had very few friends, and mostly because I couldn't be completely honest with who I was, and my all-consuming purpose in getting through high school was to get into a good university and be able to go out of town. And I did that. My first year of university was pretty okay. Although I was still repressing, I was still afraid. I hadn't met the people that I needed to be with, and I met my first gay encounter, I guess, in the last week of my first year of school. Probably did something that was incredibly stupid, where I just got drunk and hooked up with someone online. And after that I got so depressed and so ashamed of myself, I dropped out of school for 1 year and did pretty much nothing. When I came back, I lived in a house with several people who I didn't know, and again, I repressed. And living away from my parents, I guess it was a little bit easier to be who I was because I didn't have to deal with that. I then went back that full year. I never went to any bars or anything like that. I was too afraid. About my third year of university, about halfway, actually no, earlier in the first part of my last year of university, I met the person who would become my first boyfriend. His name was Mike, and I loved him. I probably loved him more than I've ever loved anyone in my entire life, and he hurt me so bad that I got really drunk one night and took a lot of pills, and I thought, this is just something I can't deal with. And there was I had one friend. Her name was Beth. She was an exchange student from the United Kingdom, and she was the only one who figured out who I was right off the bat. She knew exactly what I was going through, and made it really easy for me to deal with the rest of that year. During that school year, I was able to come out and tell a few of my friends, but I wasn't able to tell anyone. I graduated and spent a year or summer in Toronto, which is the largest city in Canada, living with a boyfriend who also to be quite blunt and honest, he nearly beat me to death. And I was so ashamed that I went back to that small town and I repressed. I repressed for another 2 years before I then again raised up enough money to leave town again. At this point, no one in my family still knew who I was or what had gone on in my life. The time after my first boyfriend was not the first time I had tried to commit suicide. The first time was after my first year of high school, where I nearly drank myself to death. After 2 years in southern Ontario, I moved around, and I met my most recent boyfriend. And I'll show you a picture right here. This is us together. I've blacked out his face. We're no longer together, and I'm sure he wouldn't approve of me putting him in this video. I haven't spoken to him in over 3 years. It wasn't until I had been with this boyfriend for about 3 years that I finally told my family that I was gay. At that point, I guess there was really only a few people. We don't talk about it. And to this day, I guess maybe only with my brother and my sister do I ever actually talk about it. I've got one aunt, I've got some cousins who will talk with me, but for the most part the rest of us don't, kind of ignore that this is something that's happened in our lives. And I just wanted to make this message to reach out to people who might be afraid and tell them that you need to do what's right for you. Because no matter what happens, you'll survive. It's going to be hard. There's going to be a lot of crying, heartache, pain, and there are going to be people who will never accept exactly what you are and who you are. But there's really no way to advocate change unless you're there. And I guess that's my message here, is that if you're not there, if you take yourself out of this world, you can't allow yourself to change it. Here's to us.